Hello, church. My name is Tavis Hackathorn. I am the college and career pastor here at LBC, and I wanted to offer you just a short word of encouragement from Scripture today. And so we're going to be in a familiar passage in Exodus chapter 3. At this point in time in Moses' life, he has fled Egypt, and he's living in the wilderness, just out tending sheep, being a shepherd, and working just off by himself. And one day as he's working, God grabs his attention in an unmistakable and unique way. As Moses is out shepherding his flock, God shows up in a burning bush, and he calls Moses to a new and unique role in his life and to a unique purpose. And so I'm going to pick up reading in Exodus chapter 3, verse 10, as we look at God's call to Moses in his life. And he says this, "Therefore go, I am sending you to Pharaoh so that you may lead my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt." And so God steps in here and has a unique new role for Moses, a unique new calling and new purpose in Moses' life. Moses has tried to kind of forget all of that and has tried to just get off by himself, but God has something more for Moses at this time. And we see in verse 11 how Moses responds. "But Moses asked God, 'Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, that I should bring the Israelites out of Egypt?'" And we know Moses responds with these questions and with these doubts. He doesn't feel qualified for this new role that God has for him. We know from here he's going to go on and express a few more of those doubts, both with himself and with how the people might respond. He's going to question his own ability and his own qualifications for this role, and his ability to publicly speak and to declare these things, and then doubts as to what if people have questions, how will I know the answer to those, and how will I get through those? But God responds in verse 12 to all of Moses' doubts and all of Moses' questions with this promise. He says, "And God answered, I will certainly be with you. And this will be a sign to you that I have sent you. And when you bring the people out of Egypt, you will all worship God at this mountain." And so God responds to all of Moses' doubts by saying this, "I will certainly be with you." And we know as we fast forward through the rest of Moses' life, that there were some bumps along the way. It wasn't all smooth sailing. There were times where God had to step in and give some instruction and offer some admonishment and correction in Moses' life. But in the end, Moses fulfills the purposes that God has for him. He delivers God's people from slavery in Egypt, and he brings them to the edge of the promised land, and does great things as he leads that nation. And today we find ourselves in a similar situation. We were just going about life, and something unmistakable has stepped in and has interrupted life as we knew it, and God is working in that time. And for many of us, we're now being called to fulfill some new roles. I know myself, along with being the college pastor here at the church, I also teach middle school math. And so currently this week, I'm in the middle of making lesson plans and setting up a new classroom structure to do online learning, where I'm going to be tasked with taking 120 middle school students and teaching them math and helping them to complete their homework and to stay organized and to demonstrate their knowledge of that content over the next month and a half. And it's a task that a month and a half ago, I never even dreamed that I would be fulfilling this role. But God has a new role for me in this time, and the same is true for you. God is calling you to some new things, and maybe for you and your family, He's calling you to be a spiritual leader at this time, or He's calling you to care and to be a caretaker in your family in a unique way that you've never been before. Or maybe you're on the flip side of the education side, and you're being called to be the teacher of your children in this time. And it's a role in which you are not quite comfortable with, and you have questions and doubts about, as Moses did in his new role. But God has a promise for you as well, and that promise is that I will certainly be with you. And it may not always be smooth sailing for these next couple of months as you go through this new time. There might be times of instruction that God has for you, times of correction. But if you will pursue after God, if you will allow Him to work in your life, then God is wanting to accomplish great things through you. Will you allow Him to work in that way?